loved that this morning. Great to see you again, mate.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. It's a great day at the boat show. Hopefully you're having a good day. Real quick introduction, like Tim said, my name's Rhys and I'm from Social Fishing. Now, Social Fishing is a freshwater fishing education website. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of saltwater fishermen here, but in this talk, I'm just going to cover basics and overview of education. So no matter where you fish, it'll be relevant to you. I'm also going to be giving away a few things, so make sure you sit down, have a watch. I've got lots of things to give away. Any kids, come down and hopefully you'll grab something up. So, real quickly, show of hands, who fishes in the salt? Who does a lot of saltwater fishing? So there's a lot here. Anyone fish freshwater? Yeah, so there's a few. But like I said, no matter what you do, you will learn something from this talk. Education, you go to school, you learn things, and it's important in life. But when it comes to fishing, you might think, oh, we go out, we just chill, we fish. But when it comes to it, the pinnacle of fishing is catching a fish. So if the fish isn't there, we probably wouldn't do it. We would go do something else. But there are other things to fishing that are important, like the scenery, hanging out with mates and things like that. But the reason we spend all the money on the boats and the gear is really all about that fish. And you probably forget about how important education is, learning about it. So when you go fishing or do anything in life, you want to learn about what you do first. So if you understand exactly what you're doing, you're going to be more successful. And we got it? Thank you very much. So, like I was saying, learn about what you're doing first. So I'm going to cover a few examples. When you buy a house, you don't just go and buy a house. You research it, you look at interest rates. There's a whole heap of things you do before you go buy a house. Same with travelling. You're going to check how much your accommodation is. And there's so many examples I could give you, but it's the same for an interest, a sport or a hobby. And it's something you probably never thought about. But the better off more educated you are, the better off you'll be. So this statement here is very true. 10% of anglers will catch 90% of fish. And I know there's a lot of fishermen in the crowd here because we're at a boat show. Now, if you want to be in that 10%, it all comes down to education. I've got a mate of mine who's got a big bass boat. He imports it from the States. He's got all the flash gear. He's got hundreds of lures. I don't know how many he's got. But I always say to him, Far out, you got some gear? And he goes, yeah, but all the gear and no idea. So if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you're not going to be in that 10%. And there's a lot of fish out there to catch. And like I said, you want to be the fellow who holds up the fish and shows it to your mates. And it's just that great feeling. And you'll get that if you can catch fish. So it all comes down to education. And knowledge equals success, obviously. So one way you can become educated is research. And there's a lot of different things you can research. So first, the location. You can research where you're going. And I'm going to use freshwater examples because that's where we're from. That's where the site's built. And that's the examples I'm going to give you. But the same for beaches or estuaries. This will apply no matter where you are. So you can research your location by, we'll go back, the reading magazines, books and articles. It's just the usual thing that you use, magazines. There's so much fishing content out there. Like I said, our website is freshwater. If you want to learn anything about freshwater locations, we have articles written on a lot of different topics. The next thing I want to talk about is Google Earth and maps. Now, when you're going to a location, you can actually look at it from satellite. Now, we use this tool all the time. I look at it every week. Now, example from the freshwater. We go to little creeks and little rivers and things like that, and we can actually look up from above and see the different types of structure and what the river's like. So you can get Google Maps just online. You can have a look at it. You can use a satellite. But Google Earth's better. You need to download it. It costs nothing. And you can actually get in and get a really good picture of above where you are. So this is an example. I'll step down and I'll talk you through it. Might be difficult to see from the front, but this is Google Earth. And what I've done here, this is a river from local area. We're from 5 hours away in central New South Wales, and this is the Murrumbidgee River. Now what I've done here is I've drawn a line. This yellow line that runs through the middle here is a path that I've drawn. And the reason I've done that is because we do river drifts in inflatable boats. We put a boat in at one reserve, we float to the next reserve. And what this does is it allows me to measure the river. So I can measure how long it is, and we need to pick 2 reserves that will allow us to do a full day's fishing. If the reserves are too close, then it's not going to be worth the day's fishing. If they're too far apart, we won't get down. We need between about 12 and 15 Ks. And what I do is draw a path. So top button up here, it's a ruler. It's going to be hard to see, but that little ruler there allows you, once you click the ruler, this here says path. And what you do is you can draw a path, so you select that, press your start point, just put your mouse over the top of the river and it'll tell you exactly how long in whatever setting you want. So kilometres is what we use. So you can use this for a beach. Maybe there's a car park at the top of a beach and you want to measure how far it is to get to sort of a rocky section on a beach, have a measure, then you know how far you got. Now the other great part about this is what else you can do with it is looking at the type of water you're fishing. Here's a river from back home, and it's a bend I want to use to show you the example. Upstream, up the top, is from top right, so the water current's flowing this way. Now the water we fish is very, very shallow, and it's important to do our research, not only for safety reasons, but also to help us catch more fish. So as you can see there, they're mid-river snags. Now one reason I want to know they're there is for danger, because we use inflatable boats, and they can get damaged if we're not careful. And this bank here has a lot of good structure on it. So what I'll do is I'll look at satellite, I'll go, okay, looking at it for the day, and the best part of it is if there's good structure maybe halfway down the drift, so maybe 10 k's in. If you don't know that it's there, say that you got a limited structure or limited fish holding structure at the start of your drift, you might fish it for half a day thinking, okay, we're halfway down, sort of. But then you get to the end and you've got all these good logs and rocks, which is good structure in freshwater. In saltwater it could be different. You've got deep sections or weed beds or things like that. And you get to them and you go, wow, I've got 2 hours to fish all this, and you've wasted time, and that's where you should have spent most of your day. So that's what we do. We get down to these good sections because I know they're there. I've never been there before, but I've looked at them on Google Earth. So those logs will help us, you know, for safety and for fish holding ability. Next one there, that's hard to see. It's a stone rapid, really shallow spot. So I know that this bit is very shallow, dangerous, probably wouldn't hold many fish. If you're looking at an estuary or something, it could be a real shallow section and you can see the deep gutter on the other side. So what I actually do is I make these maps up, print them off, build a full-size map of the drift, print the small ones off, and I know exactly as we're coming down, oh, there'll be a good log on the outside here. My mate goes, how do you know that that's there? You've never been here before, but I've done the research, and that'll help you in catching more fish. What else do we have? So this here is a deep outside bend, and there's actually a couple of good logs. There's one here and one in here. Hard to see from that, but when you do a bit of research, it looks blurry, but you know it's there. So that's where we want to concentrate our efforts on. Up here is a reserve access, so it also gives you access to locations through tracks. We look at satellite, we go, oh yeah, we can get in there, and there's a reserve there, and we go have a look, and it's a reserve. So it's just a really good way. There's a few examples there of what I talked about. A good way to find locations and research your location. And like I said, in education, it's not just about location. You can research other things like the techniques and the fish, and there's lots, but location's the starting point. You talk to other anglers. Some anglers aren't real keen to share locations, but you can try and get a little bit out of them. That's another way you can learn. Facebook groups are really good now. There's a lot on different styles. We're from the fresh, and there's Facebook groups on just targeting Murray cod on lures. About 10,000 people, and you share ideas, they put photos up and tell you where they've caught them. So it's a good way, and not only Facebook groups, but internet websites and blogs and things like that. And asking questions, always ask questions. I'm up here free to ask afterwards if you've got any questions, and I'll be able to share whatever you'd like to know with you of what I know. So next thing, research of new techniques and gear. So we talked about locations, now about your techniques and your gear. Same sort of thing. Read about them in your articles. I write articles for a lot of magazines, and I'll share techniques, and we'll go out and we'll test a technique. We'll spend 5 weekends on the water testing it. We'll write about it, and it saves you doing that trial and error. Watching video tutorials. So it's sort of like TV, watching TV shows, but what we do on our website is we film a lot of video tutorials. I'll talk about them later, based freshwater, and we've got hours and hours worth of in-depth talks. We sit down and talk about exactly what line, what lure, what colour, what style. Rather than just showing you catching fish, we actually show you how to catch fish. So we've got gear reviews as well. We write reviews on gear, different types of rods, tell you what's the best size rod, and it just takes out that trial and error, especially if you're spending a lot of money on a rod. You want to make sure you buy a good one. If you can get that advice of someone who knows what they're doing, you're going to be better off. And talk to people who know more about the topic than you. There's always going to be someone who knows more than you. There'll be people out there who know more than me, and they'll always give you more advice. I'm myself still learning off other people. They'll go to a location, they'll catch a heap of fish, and I'll still pick their brains and find more than one opinion. One person's opinion might not be right. So the more research you can do, the better. Now, a piece of advice I have, which was important in building myself up as a fisherman and learning and catching more fish, is to find yourself a mentor. Very, very, very important in no matter what you do. So if you love something, say you love to go out and boat, or what we're talking about here, fish, find someone who can mentor you and teach you. There was a bloke back in where we're from in Wagga. He took me on as, he was my mentor, and I asked him lots of questions, asked him so many things, found out lots from him, and he helped me become a better fisherman. So, other than research and learning, experience is something that's big. So you can learn a lot, but the experience is probably the best form of the education. Getting out there and actually doing it and spending time on the water is so important. So the more time you spend on the water, the better off you're going to be, because you actually get to experience that and gain more knowledge from what you're doing. So that leads into a story I'm going to share with you. Last August we were out, so we fish for Murray cod and golden perch. So I'm not sure if you know how big cod get, but we'll show you a photo soon of some big fish. They're a very, very hard fish to catch. So of the ocean, they're probably equivalent to a marlin or something you spend hours and hours trying to catch, especially big cod. Now, this was last winter, as you can tell, it's freezing cold. This was a photo taken 3 weeks before the trip I'm telling you about. Now, it was July, so cod season was coming to a close. We're fishing in a dam that is very hard to catch fish in. It's cold, it's the wrong time of year, and I was using a technique known as surface fishing. So this is a surface lure, comes across the top. If you've never seen a Murray cod hit a surface lure, visit the website and have a look at some of the videos. It sounds like a gunshot going off. Absolutely scares the living daylights out of you. It's like catching GTs on popper, but it sounds like a gunshot because everything's so quiet. Anyway, we're doing a technique that I've never known anyone else to do in this dam. It wasn't a known technique, but because it's such an exciting way of doing it, I wanted to give it a crack. Now, winter, terrible time to fish. Anyway, we got out on dark. We do it in the dark. So that represents an animal, or I'm going to say a duck. It sounds bad, but they eat ducks off the top that come across the top. That's what the size of that thing represents. And we were casting it in, bringing it back. We're about an hour in. And most of the time, I'll tell you, most of the time we go fishless in this dam. We spend all night in the dam, we catch nothing. But we do it for a reason, because that's the cod we got. 130 centimetres, over 100 pound. Didn't weigh much less than me. The water was 7 degrees. I had to get in because I couldn't even lift it in. And anyway, the story was we were surface fishing, and he hit the lure, and like I said, scared the absolute living daylights out of me. And we're only an hour in, and I couldn't believe I'd hooked up. Now, surface fishing, for a cod to hook up on surface, you probably wouldn't know, but you probably get 1 out of every 10 hit. So we might get 1 hit a night there, but it might take 10 trips to hook one. But I hooked him, so that was my first piece of luck, I would call it. There's a bit of skill to sort of hooking him on surface, so there's a bit of experience there, but that's the first part. Now, where the experience really came into play is I ended up seeing the fish. He come right up, and he was in the water. He was huge. You just can't believe how big it is. And he was only pinned by 1 point of the treble, so just in a bit of skin. So he's holding on by a tiny little bit, and I could see that, and I thought, far, this is going to be an effort. But now what he did is he turned and he went for the tree. Now there was a tree from only a few metres away from me, and he was going for the tree. And when it comes to fishing, if you're a fisherman, you'll know that you've got so much drag, but on a bait cast reel, because we use bait casters, you can actually put your thumb on the spool to slow the fish down. And there's a risk in that though, because the more pressure you put on your line, the more chances you've got of him breaking off. So you either let him go to the tree. If he gets to the tree, if the hooks touch the tree, you're going to lose the fish, or if he gets around the tree, he's gone. But if you put your thumb on it, you got that risk of breaking him. So I had to make that split-second decision, or what do I do? He was going for the tree. I knew I would have lost him if I let him hit the tree. So I jammed my thumb on the spool and managed to turn him. Somehow he stayed connected, but it was that decision. Anyway, he come up, and then he was sitting beside the boat, and we use electric motors. What he did is he wrapped me around the electric motor. And this was really where the experience came into it. He wrapped me, and the rule in fishing, who knows the rule in fishing when you hook the fish? You never give them, what don't you give them? You never give the fish, never give them slack. Never give them any loose line, because the hook will fall out. But I had to break that rule because he got me around my electric motor. If I had have kept the tension, it would have busted, because such a big fish, 30 pound line, 100 pound cod, it'd just break like cotton. So I free spooled the line, fish disappeared, didn't know where he went. I untangled the line thinking, who knows, he's probably fallen off. Clicked the reel back into gear, felt like about half an hour, but it was probably about 5 seconds. Wound up the slack, pulled the tension up, and he was still there, but he was back at the tree. Again, I had to decide, put my thumb on him, and in that split second, that decision landed me that fish. I know a lot of anglers who would probably just keep tension on that, and that fish of a lifetime wouldn't have come about. So that's me in the water with it. The head, I reckon I could have fit my head inside his head. It's a big fish, so probably the biggest fish I'll ever catch. And that leads me to another story of where experience lost a fish. So I watched a video on Facebook once, and there was a bloke surface fishing. I'll give you an example. He was where you are, and he's surface fishing too. So this here is a log coming out of the water. So there's more of the log down here. And he cast back to about here, where I am, and the current of the river is going this way, down that way. So from there, down in front. He cast in, within a couple of lines, he hooked up on surface, and it was a big fish. He was fishing on the Murray River. He knew it was big. And when he hooked it, the fish's instinct is to go for cover. So because the fish was behind this log, his instinct is to go this way. And as soon as he goes this way, the line's gone around the log. Now from watching that video, even though it was blurry, I could tell that the fish had gone behind the log. And if you had that experience and that knowledge, he was in a boat with an electric motor, he would have gone flat out up that way and around the front so that he could pull the fish out the back. But instead he stood where he was and fought it from where he was. So all he was trying to do was pull a fish that was huge through a log, which is never going to happen. What happened? He lost it and he was spewing. He was angry. So it's those, and I watched him and it just hurt because I knew he would have landed it with that bit of experience to come up above. And it's those things that will help you become a better angler. Now I've got a few fishing tips for you. I need a helper for this one. I'm going to show you, like I said, come up buddy, nice hat. Like I said, education, I'm going to show you a few things that you'll use no matter what, freshwater or saltwater. So what I need you to help me with, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to tie this knot. Now, can you hold this microphone up for me? What's your name?
Oliver.
Oliver? Oliver, we've got Oliver up here. Now can you hold that microphone up so I can hear? So right up near my mouth, you got it? Now I'm going to show you how to tie a loop knot. Now a loop knot is a knot you want to use when a lure has action. So a bibbed lure or a hard body, something that swims, soft plastic, this knot will free it up to swim with its full action. Now you might not think, oh, it's not really important, but the more action you have on a lure, the more it's going to swim. You might catch that one extra fish, and it could be a fish that big. So Oliver's hand, hold your hand out like this, buddy. Oliver's hand is going to be the lure, the front of the lure, so the toe point. Now with this knot, this is my leader, right? What you want to do is tie, you can hold that right up. Yep, you're right. Tie an overhand knot like that. So I'll do it again, sorry. Go, just an overhand knot. Like that to start the knot. If anyone misses this, come and ask me after and I'll show you. Now you go through the lure. Use this for anything from trout to mackerel, whatever. Now, you want to go back through this gap, but you want to go through, this way. Back through the way the line came. You don't want to go that way. There. You go back in that way. Bring it up. Now this loop you'd obviously make nice and small on a lure. Then what you want to do, it's very simple. Wrap back up the line. 1, 2, so 3 for heavy line, so 40, 50 pounds, 5 or 6 for trout size line or flathead or brim. Now you want to go back through this hole we have here, back through, and pull it all up tight. Thanks for that, Oliver. I'll grab a hat. You got one Berkeley hat already. Here you go. Here's another one. And I've got something else for you. Put that on your fishing rods to look after them. Thanks, mate. All right, so that's a loop knot. And what it does, it actually ties up and fixes like that. It doesn't fix down on the lure. I'm sure a lot of you already use it, but it's a knot you will use a lot of. So very, very good knot there. Now, next one. Oh, I've got a tip for buying a rod. I need another little helper, a little strong. Yep, up you come. What's your name? What's your name?
Samara.
Samara. Okay, so I need you to just hold the microphone up near my mouth for me. Is that all right? Yeah, you got that? Big strong? Up a little bit higher. You ready? Okay, so when you go in a shop, you buy a rod, right? It just looks like a rod. And you probably listen to what the person tells you when you're buying it. Now, a little tip for when you're buying one, a graphite rod this is, which is a good quality rod that you should use a lot. It gives a lot more sensitivity. Now, what you want to do is, a rod has its own backbone. Graphite has its own way that it wants to go. It has a backbone. So if you hold it, don't break it when you do it in the shop, but just hold it like this. See how those guides sit at the top it's a bait caster. So bait casters sit the other way. For anyone who doesn't know, a spin reel will sit like that, but a bait caster sits like that. Now that's how it should sit. If I twist it in my fingers up here, it'll roll back. If you want to see it later, I can show you again. But it has its own, I can feel that, it doesn't want to go that way, and if I sit it like that, it rolls back. Because it has its own backbone, and that's where it's going to have its most strength. Thank you. I'll give you a hat. You want a hat? There you are. That's okay. So that's a little important tip when you go into a shop. If you want to see me, if you want me to show you that again, I can. And it's a little something small, but you want to buy a rod that has that backbone, because that's where its strength is. If it is the other way, it's not going to have much strength. So that's just a little tip that will help you in any style of fishing. Polarized sunglasses, very important, especially in freshwater. So you fish in estuaries, flathead. Now I just want to talk about this lens here from Spotters. It's a penetrator, but it's a photochromic. Now it's a photochromic crown glass. Now what it does, if you have shadows and you have light, normal sunglasses will darken everything. These things actually darken the light and enhance the shadow. So it gives you an even contrast. So when we fish for freshwater, these sunnies here, when we fish freshwater natives, it'll actually bring the shadows up so we can see the snags and the shadows, and it'll darken the sun. So I can actually wear these inside, it actually brightens it up, but I walk out and it'll darken. Very, very cool technology, and it makes the sunglasses, brings them to a whole new level. Now this here, hopefully you can see it, it's barometric pressure graph. I'll run through it quick. The rule, there's a lot that comes along with barometric pressure, and there's a lot of people who have their own opinions about it and what it does to the fish. But high barometric pressure, the fish bite, you've heard that before. But when it drops quickly is the best. When you have storms come through, that pressure drops. That's when you get that really harsh bite, that real good bite where the fish is going crazy. So here, it's flat through here, and it drops through here, and then it's flat again. And where that drop is where we get bites on the river, and the fish just go bang, bang, bang. We go, what happened there? Go back and check it, and we can see what happened. When it goes flat after the drop, is no good. When you've got slowly rising pressure, it's alright, or a steady pressure, it's alright. But when you get those real aggressive bites is when it plummets. Real quickly, with the time we have left, I'm just going to talk about what social fishing is. We launched 3 months ago. We built the website over 3 years. It's a fishing education site. It's freshwater at the moment. We're building it up. We'd love to make it go saltwater as well. At the moment it's fresh. We teach what we know. So it was built up by me and a few other mates. We film video tutorials, write articles. Been a long time coming, but we're here to teach education to help you catch fish. You can't go fishing unless you know what you can go fishing, but you catch a lot more fish if you know what you're doing. There's the link. We write articles. I write articles on different topics, reports on different areas, gear reviews, and videos. Now, videos are probably the biggest part of the website. We actually film video tutorials. So they're in-depth tutorials. It's not just catching a fish, they're actually in-depth videos. This is our complete guide lure fishing series. So we started off with a lure fishing series. We're going to go bait fishing series, which is coming out soon. We'll teach you all about that, all about bait fishing. So here are the 4 we have. Top one's Murray cod and golden perch in rivers. So that first talk we talked about, this year has over an hour worth of video content that teaches you how to catch the fish in that area. Same for cod in dams, that was the other talk I did. Golden perch in dams, trout in rivers. They're the 4 that are up now. That adds up to over 5.5 hours of video. So it's not like just watching a DVD of someone catching a fish. We actually teach you how to catch the fish in those videos, and it's all on the website. Now this is just a breakdown of the Murray cod in dams series. It's got 5 different videos. Now they all have more than 5, between 5 and 8. So instead of watching a whole series, you can pick a 20-minute video and watch just about the lure selection. Maybe you don't know what lure to use, watch that video. We talk about the colours. We talk in depth for over 20 minutes about what lure colour. Maybe you want to know how to cast those banks, and that one's on there too. So they're all built so that it's easy for you to find the information you need. There's more coming. We're in the middle of filming all these series too to cover all the freshwater. Trout, carp on fly, great style of fishing. Might not have thought of it before, but that is awesome. Murray cod on surface, a lot of different things. We've also got knot tying videos. We teach how to rig a spinnerbait on a stinger hook, sort of like we've got down there. You can learn how to wire up an electric motor, so the whole electric motor from battery to motor, the whole lot. And also there's over 10 knot videos. We teach you how to tie loop knots and all those kind of things you can watch over and over. We've got a competition, ends on the 10th of March. We're giving away over $2,000 worth of gear. So sunglasses, lures, hats, there's a whole ton of gear in there. So over $2,000 worth of gear, and there's 5 different prizes, different packages. Top prize is $1,500, and that's all on the website. So it ends in a couple of weeks. Get on the website, have a look, enter, you can have a chance of winning all that gear. So thank you for listening today, and this is a little video of a little bit of action that we have captured. There's a lot more on the website, but this is just a little bit of a taster. Thank you very much. Thank you for Tackle Busters stage today and the Trailerboat show.
Oh man!
Yeah! Woo! Yeah, come on. Yes, yes! Yep. On. Oh, yeah. Moving to it. He's got it. Yes!
Day of casting this very big fish.
Oh, yep, got him on. Yep, I'm on.
Have a look at this bird. Off the top, that big boy come up and boost the surface. The $1.20 a pod. Look at that for a fish on the cast. Yeah!
Missed the hit, but I know.
Whoa!